Hi, I'm Dr. Glenn Pickering, the relationship doctor and the founder of Beginning Now, a company designed to help Christians form better, deeper relationships with each other and with God. Now, in a previous recording, I said a relationship with God and with each other are not just good things to be working on, they're the only things to be working on. And now in this video, I want to talk to you about why it's so important that we keep working on them. Here's what I mean. In my 40 years of working with couples, if there's one thing I've seen over and over and over again, is that in any marriage relationship or any other kind of relationship, we're always doing one of two things. We're either growing closer and closer together, or we're drifting further and further apart. One of those two things is always happening. Now, sometimes couples come into me and say, well, Glenn, we're kind of in survival mode right now. And they mean we're just trying to kind of keep things the same. But see, that's not an option. Nothing ever stays the same. Everything that God has ever created, the earth, the birds, the clouds, the flowers, us, have two fundamental things in common. They're always changing gradually. Nothing ever stays the same, including our relationships. In Corinthians, we read that we become a new being in Christ. And that doesn't mean we become somebody else, somebody that we're not. It means we start becoming a better and purer version of the person that God had in mind all along, the person we were created to be. The scriptures talk a lot about what they call the refiner's fire, and I think, right, if you take a lump of gold with a whole bunch of impurities in it and put it through the refiner's fire, nothing happens to the gold, but the impurities gradually all get burned away. And what you're left with is just this very pure piece of gold. And that's supposed to be happening in our individual lives all the time. We're always supposed to be growing into our pure, more perfect, more Christ-like self all the time. And it's true for our relationships too. The Apostle Paul tells his most beloved disciples and the people who are most dear to him, I know that you love one another, but my command to you is that you do that more and more and more and more, that you never stop getting better at that, which I think is interesting. Now, Jesus tells this really interesting parable with a master who gave 1 talent to one guy. A talent is like how much you can make in a year, so that's a lot. 2 talents to another guy, and 5 to a third person, and then goes away. And the 2 people who got 2 talents and 5 talents made good use of them, turned them into 4 talents and 10 talents, respectively. So when the master came back, they were able to give the master everything that was given to them and more. And the master said, well done, good and faithful servants. The guy who only got 1 talent, though, he was afraid, and he gave in to his fear. So he didn't use the talent, he buried it. So when the master came back, he dug it up and just handed it back to the master and said, here's the talent you gave me. And the master was furious. Now, most people, if they're going to preach on this story, they stop right there, which is okay. And they preach about how important it is to use our talents, which, that's good. That's a good point. There's nothing wrong with that. But see, what's interesting to me is that the story doesn't stop there. Jesus goes on to say, so take the talent from the one who has 1 and give it to the one who has 10. For to those who have will even more be given, but to those who have not, even what they have will be taken away. You can see why nobody wants to preach on that part of the story, right? It seems so unloving. But it's not. It's actually very loving, and it's a warning. A loving warning, if you will. See, if we don't keep growing in our relationships with God, our partners, our friends, our neighbors, the people we love the most, we just start drifting further and further away from them. And in the end, we have nobody. On the other hand, if we continue to grow in our relationships with our loved ones, the neighbors, the people God puts in our life, in the end, we have a great marriage, a powerful faith life, and really great friends and neighbors. Nobody, see, here's the message, nobody ends up with a C+ marriage. Nobody. Or a C+ number of friends. Or a C+ amount of money. Some of my couples come to me at first and they say, Glenn, life is so unfair. And I understand. They're probably coming off of a really hard time. That's probably why they're coming to see me. And I don't want to be flippant about that. But I think, see, the hard thing about life is not that it's unfair. It's that it's so fair. For example, back when I was a pastor, I'd visit people in the nursing home to cheer them up. And about half of them would actually cheer me up. There are people who lived their life well, they cared for others, they developed their relationship with God and with their friends, and so at the end, they felt good about their life looking back. The people in the nursing home liked to spend time with them, the staff people liked them a lot, and they had tons of visitors. The other half, however, I went to cheer them up, and they would just bring me down. They were crabby, cantankerous, irritable, mad. They looked back in their life and felt like they didn't live the life they wanted, especially didn't develop the relationships they wanted, and the people who lived there didn't like to be around them. The staff people kind of made a point of avoiding them, and very few people visited them. And they would say to me, Glenn, that's so unfair. And I don't want to be callous. My heart hurts that happened to them. But that's not a sign that life's unfair. It's a sign that life is actually painfully fair. We get exactly what we sow. So why am I such a nut about helping people grow in their best, most powerful relationships with each other and with God? Because I know that Jesus was right. We're not going to end up with an okay life. Nobody's going to get a C+. Nobody. And I take that warning very seriously. Now that's why I created the Beginning Now community, a group of people who want to keep growing in their relationship so they can end up with that A+ life and A+ marriage and A+ faith that Jesus promised them, like promising us a big, abundant life. That's what Jesus wants for us. So if your relationships are struggling right now, or if your relationships are doing okay right now, or if your relationships are doing great right now, I say to you, you should join the Beginning Now community. And partly I'm being a little silly, of course. But I'm dead serious at the same time because, see, we all need to keep working on our relationships no matter where we are in the learning process. And the Beginning Now community was made to do exactly that, to help people keep growing in their faith and in their relationships. There are videos like this that you have free access to anytime. There are also webinars that you can tune into, Q&A times that you can participate in. There are people like yourselves who are working and learning right alongside with you. I invite you to join that amazing, loving community. Because nobody ends up with a C+ marriage, or life, or friend group, or faith. Nobody. You take care.